Sharon Stone was once the embodiment of Hollywood power, beauty, and fearlessness, a woman whose presence on screen could stop time and command attention without saying a word. At her peak, she wasn't simply famous, she was iconic, a symbol of intelligence, sensuality, and confidence wrapped into one unforgettable force. The world saw the glamour, the red carpets, the headlines, and the myth of effortless success. What few could imagine was that behind the image was a woman quietly enduring an extraordinary amount of pain. This is not just the story of a star who fell from fame, it is the story of a woman who survived trauma after trauma, lost nearly everything she had, and still found the strength to rebuild her life from the ground up. A childhood far from glamour. Long before the cameras and the acclaim, Sharon Von Stone was a young girl growing up in Meadville, Pennsylvania, born on March 10, 1958, into a working-class family that valued discipline and self-reliance. Her father worked in manufacturing, and her mother balanced homemaking with accounting work, instilling structure and resilience in their children. Sharon was notably gifted from an early age, walking and speaking unusually early, and displaying a sharp intellect that set her apart. She was curious, intense, and deeply thoughtful, often asking questions far beyond her years. That intelligence earned her a scholarship to Edinburgh University of Pennsylvania at just 15, where she studied creative writing and fine arts. On the surface, her future looked promising, but beneath that promise was a reality marked by pain she did not yet have the language to explain. The hidden trauma. In adulthood, Sharon Stone would reveal a devastating truth that shaped much of her inner life. In her memoir, The Beauty of Living Twice, she disclosed that she and her sister were sexually abused during childhood by their maternal grandfather. It was a secret that lived in silence for years, creating a foundation of trauma that followed her into adulthood. The abuse, hidden behind family normalcy, left emotional scars that influenced how she understood power, vulnerability, and survival. Like many survivors, she carried that pain quietly, building strength outwardly while internally navigating fear, confusion, and shame. This early trauma became an invisible thread running through her life, long before fame ever entered the picture. Modeling as an escape. Sharon's striking appearance soon became her way out of a small town and into a larger world. After winning a local beauty contest, she was encouraged to pursue modeling in New York City. She left college and signed with the Ford Modeling Agency in 1977, quickly appearing in advertisements and commercials. While modeling provided opportunity and independence, it felt incomplete. Her real dream was acting, a passion born in childhood when she staged plays in her parents' garage. Modeling opened doors, but acting was where she felt alive, where she could channel emotion, intellect, and imagination into something meaningful. The long road to recognition. Her acting career began modestly, with a brief appearance in Woody Allen's Stardust Memories in 1980. It was hardly a breakthrough, and the following decade was marked by small roles in television shows and low-budget films. She worked steadily but without recognition, appearing in movies that rarely showcased her depth or intelligence. Despite the struggle, she persisted, learning the industry from the inside and developing a thick skin in a system that often dismissed women as interchangeable. Those years were humbling, frustrating, and essential, laying the groundwork for what was to come. A breakthrough that changed everything. Everything shifted in 1990 when director Paul Verhoeven cast Sharon Stone opposite Arnold Schwarzenegger in Total Recall. The role revealed her edge, her intensity, and her ability to command the screen. Audiences noticed. Hollywood noticed. But Stone knew that one role wasn't enough to secure longevity. To position herself for a more daring part, she made a controversial decision to pose for Playboy, understanding the risk, but also the leverage it could provide in an industry driven by image. That calculated gamble led directly to the role that would define her career, becoming a cultural phenomenon. In 1992, Basic Instinct was released, and Sharon Stone became one of the most talked about women in the world overnight. Her portrayal of Catherine Trammell was bold, intelligent, provocative, and unforgettable. The film sparked controversy, debate, and massive box office success. Stone's performance was instantly iconic, cementing her as a global superstar and redefining how powerful women could be portrayed on screen. Yet the same role that elevated her career also placed her in a cultural box, one that would later be weaponized against her in deeply personal ways. Life at the absolute peak. By the late 1990s and early 2000s, Sharon Stone was at the height of fame. She was commanding enormous salaries, attending the world's most prestigious events, and balancing a successful career with motherhood after adopting her son. From the outside, she seemed unstoppable, but success did not protect her from what was coming next. The day everything stopped. In September 2001, Sharon Stone's life changed in an instant. At 43, she suffered a massive stroke caused by a ruptured vertebral artery, leading to a severe brain hemorrhage. The experience was sudden, terrifying, and nearly fatal. Doctors gave her an extremely slim chance of survival. For days, her condition remained critical as her body fought to stabilize. A complex surgical intervention ultimately saved her life, but survival was only the beginning of a far longer and harder journey. Learning to live again. The aftermath of the stroke was devastating. Sharon Stone had to relearn basic functions that many take for granted. Speaking, walking, reading, and writing became daily battles. Her memory was impaired, her speech affected, and her physical stamina drastically reduced. The woman known for sharp intelligence and precision now struggled to form sentences. Recovery took years, not months, and required immense patience and determination. She later described the experience as being stripped of her former self and forced to rebuild from nothing. Hollywood turns away. As she focused on recovery, the industry that once celebrated her quietly moved on. Roles disappeared, opportunities dried up. In Hollywood, vulnerability is often mistaken for weakness, and illness rarely fits into narratives of desirability and success. Sharon Stone found herself pushed aside at the very moment she needed support. The loss of work compounded her physical recovery with emotional isolation, forcing her to confront how conditional fame truly is. Financial collapse, medical costs, loss of income, and misplaced trust led to financial devastation. The wealth she had carefully built over years vanished. She later revealed that people took advantage of her during her recovery, leaving her financially vulnerable at a time when she was least able to protect herself. The fall from financial security was yet another layer of loss added to an already overwhelming period. A family torn apart. In 2004, Sharon Stone's marriage ended, followed by a painful custody battle over her adopted son. In court, her most famous film role was used against her, questioning her fitness as a mother. The experience was deeply traumatic, reflecting the persistent double standards women face, particularly those who dare to embody sexual confidence. Losing primary custody was devastating. She described the emotional pain as overwhelming, impacting her physical health and leaving her broken in ways she struggled to articulate. The lowest point. In just a few years, Sharon Stone lost her health, her career, her financial stability, and significant time with her child. The life she had built collapsed entirely. It was a period defined by grief, exhaustion, and despair. Many would have disappeared entirely. Instead, she slowly began to rise again. A lifetime of private loss. The stroke was not the first tragedy she had endured. Sharon Stone has spoken openly about experiencing multiple miscarriages, each one a deeply personal loss carried largely in silence. These experiences shaped her understanding of grief and resilience, eventually leading her to adoption and motherhood. Her family would later endure further heartbreak with the sudden deaths of her nephew and brother, losses that compounded the emotional weight she carried. Losing her mother. The death of her mother in 2025 marked another profound loss. Their relationship had been complex, defined by toughness, honesty, and hard-earned love. Her mother's emphasis on independence left a lasting imprint on Sharon's identity, one that would later help her survive unimaginable adversity. Choosing to rise, after being stripped of everything familiar, Sharon Stone made a choice: to rise rather than disappear. Her recovery became not just physical, but spiritual and emotional. She began speaking openly about stroke awareness, brain health, and women's advocacy, using her experience to help others. This new purpose gave meaning to her survival beyond personal success. Advocacy and renewal. Sharon joined neurological foundations, worked to educate the public about stroke symptoms, and became an advocate for women's health and autonomy. Writing her memoir allowed her to reclaim her story on her own terms, speaking honestly about abuse, loss, and survival without shame. A new definition of power. Today, Sharon Stone's life is no longer defined by box office numbers or public validation. It is defined by resilience, authenticity, and purpose. She has rebuilt her life not as a symbol, but as a woman who knows her worth beyond fame. Her story is not one of tragedy alone, but of extraordinary endurance and transformation. A legacy beyond the screen. Sharon Stone will always be remembered for her iconic roles, but her true legacy lies in her survival. She lived one life as a superstar and another as a survivor who rebuilt herself piece by piece. In doing so, she demonstrated a strength far more enduring than celebrity. Her journey stands as a testament to the power of resilience, the courage to speak truth, and the possibility of rebuilding even after everything is lost.